when it says 100, that means he's in the top. He is the top, pretty much, of all of baseball in all of those things. Welcome, everyone, to Dinging Corners, a baseball podcast powered by SlabStox. I'm your host, Nate, and today we are going to be talking about the Rookie of the Year races. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about Devin Williams because I'm a Brewers fan, and Devin Williams has been amazing. And some of you that are watching baseball but not paying attention to the Brewers might not know about Devin Williams. Well, I didn't want to just talk about Devin Williams because that would make a bad podcast because he's just a relief pitcher. So instead, we're talking about Rookie of the Year award races so that we can cover Devin Williams in this podcast. So we're going to start off with the AL Rookie of the Year, and it is a two-man race at this point. Many of you know these guys, and it's Luis Robert and Kyle Lewis. It's not as cut and dry as one would think. Many people thought that it would be Luis Robert all the way, starting from at the beginning of the season, but then Kyle Lewis got hot, but then Luis Robert got hot, so then, it was still kind of a Luis Roberts award to lose. Well, we've learned anything in the last couple of weeks, is that Luis Robert has lost it. In the last 2 weeks, from 9/10 to 9/24, so 9/24 is today. So there's no stats, so it's kind of iffy. That's really 13 days of games instead of 14, but bear with me. Kyle Lewis has played 13 games to Luis Roberts' 12. Kyle Lewis has had 52 plate appearances to Luis Roberts' 47. Luis Robert has 0 home runs. Kyle Lewis has 2. And Luis Robert has a 10% walk rate to Kyle Lewis' 17. Luis Robert has a 36% K rate to Kyle Lewis' 32. So Kyle Lewis is beating him in every single category you could possibly beat him in. And currently, Kyle Lewis is batting a measly 167, 308, 333 slugging, which is good for an 85 WRC+. Whereas Luis Robert is batting an anemic .050, 152 on base, and a .050 slugging. That's absolutely atrocious. He's been worth -37 WRC+ in the last 2 weeks, which is good for being 137% worse than league average. Kyle Lewis is 15% worse than league average in the last 2 weeks. Luis Robert is 137% worse than league average in the last 2 weeks. And Kyle Lewis has been worth 0.1 win above replacement in that time period. And Luis Robert has been worth -0.4 wins above replacement in that time period, according to Fangraphs. So they've both been pretty bad the last 2 weeks, but Kyle Lewis has been a little bit better, actually being a positive player in that time period. On the year, they both have 11 home runs. Kyle Lewis has a 6% better walk rate. Kyle Lewis has a 6% better strikeout rate. A much higher BABIP, though, for Kyle Lewis, and their stat lines. Kyle Lewis is batting .277 with a 378 on base and a 462 slugging, which is good for a 137 WRC+. And Luis Robert is batting .220 with a 291 on base and a 435 slugging, which is good for a 97 WRC+. Kyle Lewis has been 40% better of a hitter than Luis Robert has been this year, and he's also been the more valuable player at a 1.9 WAR over 1.5 WAR for Luis Robert. So all in all, a pretty rough stretch for these guys to close out the year. Kind of disappointing to see, especially for me, as I had Luis Robert on my fantasy team, and my fantasy team pooped the bed last week. But for right now, if I was to pick a guy to win Rookie of the Year, I would pick Kyle Lewis. Just because he's been a little bit better for the full year and a little bit better these last 2 weeks. Maybe Luis Robert turns it on really, really hot these last like 4 or 5 games that he's got left, but I just don't see that happening. I would pick Kyle Lewis. As for their prices, Kyle Lewis Top Series 1 Rookie PSA 10 is $125. That came out in 2020 Series 1. Luis Robert 2020 Top Series 2 Rookie PSA 10 is around $195. That feels fair to me. Kyle Lewis is still one of those guys that you're not 100% sure if he'll keep this up because of those high strikeout rates. It's possible that he ends up being a guy that is very, very streaky and will carry a team for a week and then disappear for 2 weeks and then carry a team for like a month and then disappear for a month. And so $125 seems like a lot for a guy that could be very, very, very streaky. And then Luis Robert, 195. It's an absurd price for a guy that hasn't earned it yet, per se. He's been good, but he hasn't earned it. But it's also one of those things where there's really nobody in Top Series 2 and people had to spend money somewhere. So that's where the money is going, is into Luis Robert. So if you look at it that way, the price seems fair there too. But I would probably rather spend $125 on Kyle Lewis than $195 on Luis Robert at this point, just because those seem artificially inflated. Anyway, so that's our AL Rookie of the Year overview. Kyle Lewis, again, 125 for PSA 10. Luis Robert, 195 for a PSA 10. And let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I know a ton of people love Luis Robert, and I love Luis Robert. He's been on my fantasy team all year. I just think 125 for Kyle Lewis is a much better deal than 195 for Luis Robert right now. On to NL Rookie of the Year. Now, this is the one that I'm very excited about and the one I wanted to talk about because it's a little bit more ridiculous. In really no year should there be a relief pitcher that's in the running for Rookie of the Year like Devin Williams is. And yet the NL Rookie of the Year class is so weak that we are looking at Devin Williams as a potential Rookie of the Year. So let's cover the guys that are in it. And it's Jake Cronenworth, Padres second baseman slash first baseman slash, utility player, but mostly second base. And he is hitting .304 with a .376 on base and a .509 slugging, which is good for a 139 WRC plus and 1.7 wins above replacement. You'll notice that is right smack dab between Kyle Lewis and Luis Robert, even though he does not get the love that the other two guys do. He's been 1.7 is right between 1.9 Kyle Lewis has and 1.5 Luis Robert has. He's been a better player than Luis Robert on the year, and yet not nearly as sought after. And then on the that's the offensive side. On the pitching side, we've got two guys, and it's Tony Gonzalon from the Dodgers, who's thrown 40 innings of a 1.77 ERA. He's been worth 1.5 wins above replacement, but only an 8.85 K per nine. Under 9 strikeouts per 9 is not very good. And then Devin, it's fine, but it's not like Rookie of the Year material. And then Devin Williams, 25 innings, a .36 ERA, not a 1.36, not a 2.36, not a 3.36, a 0.36 ERA. It's the best season I've ever seen out of a Brewer, and we've had Josh Hader and Corey Knebel and Jeremy Jefferson, Will Smith and Tyler Thornburg in recent years, John Axford before that. And yet Devin Williams is taking the cake out over all of them. 25 innings, he's got an 18.72 K per 9. The max you can get on a K per 9 is 27. So that's a strike. That would be 3 strikeouts per inning for 9 innings. He's currently at 18.72, which is a little bit over 2 strikeouts an inning for the entire year so far in his 25 innings. That's absolutely insane. And he's been worth 1.4 wins above replacement here. Unbelievable. They're all 26 years old, which is wild. I don't think that's probably ever happened before. I can't prove it. Don't quote me on that. But 26 for Jake Cronenworth, 26 for Tony Gonzalon, and Devin Williams just turned 26 3 days ago on the 21st. So that's maybe a weird year thing where 60 games, you don't get that much talent in the NL coming up, and all of a sudden you get a bunch of old rookies that are ready to compete. Probably that, but still pretty cool. Let's go on to a little bit of stats here. Jake Cronenworth, we've got his 2020 MLB percentile rankings, and it will be up on the screen. You should be looking at it right now. And exit velocity is 75th percentile, which is really good, top 25%. Hard hit rate is 66th percentile, which is above average. Expected weighted on base is 98th percentile. Expected batting average 100. Expected slugging 96. And you can see the rest of them. Sprint speed 92nd percentile. Outs above average 95th percentile. An absolutely unbelievable year. Everything is above average. If you're wondering where I got this, it's at baseballsavant.com, or if you just look up StatCast, you'll see it there. And so he's been amazing on the year and completely deserving of the NL Rookie of the Year. But then you got, and we're not going to cover Tony Gonzalon. He's a third fiddle in this race to me. We've got Devin Williams, 2020 MLB percentile rankings, and you should be seeing these on your screen right now. Exit velocity 98%, hard hit rate 96, expected weighted on base 100, expected ERA 100, expected batting average 100, expected slugging 100, K percentage 100, whiff rate 100. when it says 100, that means he's in the top. He is the top, pretty much, of all of baseball and all of those things. It's been absolutely unbelievable. A couple more stats to dive into with Devin Williams. He's thrown his changeup. I'm sure many of you have probably seen his changeup. If you follow Rob Friedman on Twitter, Pitching Ninja, he calls it an airbender. He's thrown his changeup 218 times. That's 53% of all pitches he's thrown, which is insane. Usually it's the fastball sets up the changeup. In Devin Williams' case, it's the changeup that sets up his fastball, which he can get up to 99 miles per hour, and he throws his changeup at 84. So there's sometimes a 15-mile-per-hour difference between his fastball and his changeup, which is insane. But his changeup, thrown it 218 times, he's allowed one hit on the changeup, which and it was a single. He's given up a .017 average on his changeup on the year, 41 strikeouts on that pitch, and a 77.1 exit velocity. So when people are making contact with it, they're hitting it really, really lightly. Overall, players are striking out 55% of the time on his changeup. And when they do make contact, they're grounding out 58% of the time. And you add that up with the weak contact that they're making, 77 mile per hour exit velocity, and you can see why people are striking out and not getting hits off of his changeup, because it just generates so much weak contact and so much on the ground contact when they're making contact, which they don't do 55% of the time. They only make contact with that pitch 45% of the time. It's not good. It's not good. Hitters look foolish. He just went through the red order against Joey Votto, not Luis Castillo, Eugenio Suarez, and Mike Moustakas, and made them all look silly. They were all swinging at changeups out of the zone. They're all well ahead of it, and they know it's coming, and yet he's still dominating them. It's the craziest pitch. If you haven't seen him throw it, look up Devin Williams on Twitter. You'll bound to find a video or two of him throwing his changeup. It is a thing of beauty. Anyways, there is my little love fest with Devin Williams changeup there. Let's look at prices. Jake Cronin, he doesn't have any Topps flagship cards or Bowman Chrome autos, but he does have Bowman Chrome not autos, and we're talking about $11 to $13 on auction for those, which is a pretty good price for a guy that's kind of popped out of nowhere and wouldn't have been worth anything before the season when he got traded from the Rays to the Padres. Devin Williams, Bowman Chrome base autos are going for $15 to $25 on buy it nows. There haven't been any auctions recently. That feels a little bit expensive. He's obviously might win Rookie of the Year. He's going to win Reliever of the Year, and he has been as dominant as any reliever I've ever seen in my entire life. And yet $15 to $25 for a reliever still seems a bit too steep. And then Tony Gonzalon, who we did not cover stats-wise, he has a Top Series 1 black out of 69 that just sold for $24 on September 18th. So that just goes to show you blacks are one of the most sought-after Topps flagship cards of all time, and you got $24 for it. Just not a ton of demand there for him. But if I had my pick, obviously I'm picking Devin Williams, though I do think Jake Cronenworth probably deserves the Rookie of the Year this year. I just don't see how you give it to a reliever. No matter how dominant the season is, it's still just 25 innings of baseball. So thank you all for listening to my Rookie of the Year recap. I'm picking Kyle Lewis and Jake Cronenworth, even though I'd really like Devin Williams to win it. We'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Let me know if you think guys like Devin Williams or Luis Robert are good deals. And I will talk to you again next Dinging Corners. Thank you.